that we all expected. After the fight, though, Jake told Ariel Helwani that he was worried that he had broke his jaw. He said multiple times he was concerned that he had a fractured jaw. And certainly looking at this knockout punch that Anthony Joshua delivers, it is absolutely a possibility that Jake does in fact have a jaw fracture. I'd honestly be more concerned about a concussion. In fact, with most jaw fractures, the more important thing initially is to look for other injuries to the head, to the neck, to the airway. The jaw fracture potentially being there or not is going to be lower on the list often than whether there's damage to the airway, damage to the head. And so very possible to have a concussion or some residual symptoms from this, as Jake Paul's head is relatively still here. We see AJ comes in with that right, and that sudden, quick, violent rotation of the head is going to transmit a lot of rotational force, not only through the brain, but also through the brainstem, absolutely leading to possibility of a concussion. Thankfully, it didn't completely knock him out, but could absolutely result in some delayed symptoms. But you can see where the punch comes in, landing square on that left side of Paul's face. Jake's reaction was pretty telling too. Right away after it, we could see him going down on the canvas here and being very shocked. It doesn't look like there's any obvious deformity to the jaw. We won't necessarily always see a deformity to the jaw, but you could tell he clearly had realized that something serious had happened there and feeling the full power of AJ's right. And finally, on this last view, we can see a little bit better the exact location where the punch comes in. We'll talk about our jaw anatomy, the different areas of the bones, but your temporomandibular joint, where your jaw articulates with the rest of your skull, is sitting right around in this area, and the jaw is roughly coming down in this orientation. And so where that punch comes in from Joshua is a little bit more kind of flush right in the center of the mandible, but also up close.
Nobody expected this night to end with hospital monitors instead of victory music. One moment it was hype, bravado, and ego flexing for the cameras. The next moment, the bravest thing in the room was the silence. That silence is where this story really begins. Jake Paul didn't walk out celebrating or trolling the internet like usual. There were no victory tweets, no smug selfies, no loud victory laps. Instead, there were whispers, stretcher rumors, and one very real hospital visit. Confidence didn't fade slowly. It vanished on impact, and then came the reaction nobody was supposed to hear this clearly. Joe Rogan didn't joke, didn't laugh, didn't spin it into entertainment. His tone changed like someone watching a reality check land in real time. When Rogan goes quiet, the internet leans in. Because this wasn't just a knockout, it was a narrative collapse. Anthony Joshua didn't just win, he rearranged expectations permanently. The memes hit first, but the questions hit harder. And once this door opened, there was no closing it back. It didn't start as chaos. That's the part everyone forgets. It started as confidence, loud confidence, the kind that walks ahead of reality, the kind that assumes the ending is already written. Jake Paul entered this moment like a man who believed the algorithm was on his side. Years of controlled narratives had trained him to expect noise, not consequences. Trash talk had always turned into views, and views had always turned into leverage. Why would this night be any different? Because Anthony Joshua doesn't fight narratives. He fights physics. And physics doesn't care how many followers you have or how viral your last clip went. It only cares about timing, weight, and impact. From the opening moments, something felt off to the people who were actually watching. Not the highlight hunters, not the meme factories, but the quiet observers. The footwork looked heavier, the rhythm looked rushed, the swagger looked rehearsed. Like confidence trying too hard to convince itself. Joshua didn't rush. He didn't posture. He stood there like a man waiting for gravity to do its job. And gravity never misses its appointment. The knockout didn't feel dramatic in the cinematic sense. There was no slow-motion hero shot, no theatrical collapse. It was sudden, clinical, and deeply uncomfortable to witness. The kind of moment that drains a room instead of igniting it. The crowd reacted late because their brains needed time to catch up. You could feel it in that half-second delay before the noise hit. Shock always arrives before sound when expectations shatter. And this one shattered clean through. Jake Paul didn't pop back up, smiling. He didn't roll into theatrics or play to the cameras. His body language said something the internet hates hearing. This wasn't part of the plan. Moments later, the whispers began. Not loud enough for microphones, but fast enough to spread. Medical staff moved with urgency, not ceremony. And suddenly, the word hospital entered the conversation. That's when everything changed. Because knockouts are normal in boxing, hospital trips after hype-driven events are not. Those carry a different weight. The internet reacted instantly because, of course it did. Some laughed, some panicked, some pretended concern while refreshing for updates. Memes were already halfway written before confirmation even landed. Empathy has a short window online, and it closes fast. But behind the jokes, something else was happening. A recalibration. People weren't just reacting to the punch. They were reacting to the possibility that the story had been wrong. Then came Joe Rogan's reaction. And that's where the tone shifted permanently. Because Rogan doesn't usually stop performing. He analyzes jokes, exaggerates, and keeps things moving. This time, he didn't. His reaction wasn't loud, wasn't dramatic, wasn't monetized energy. It was cautious, grounded, and noticeably restrained. That's not entertainment silence, that's concerned silence. When someone like Rogan changes tone, people notice. Not because he's always right, but because he's rarely careful. Care means something crossed from spectacle into reality. And reality doesn't trend easily. Clips of his reaction spread fast. Not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't. The pauses were louder than any punchline. The hesitation did more damage than mockery ever could. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't about losing. It was about vulnerability. And vulnerability is the one thing Jake Paul's brand never prepared for. You can't spin a hospital bed into dominance. Fans started asking uncomfortable questions. Not haters, not trolls, but the middle ground. The ones who bought tickets, streams, and belief. Those are the questions that sting the most. Was this rushed? Was this misjudged? Was the gap between promotion and preparation finally exposed? And why did everyone act surprised when Gravity answered honestly? The first leaks started appearing shortly after. Not official statements, just fragments. Second-hand accounts, insider murmurs, and timeline inconsistencies. Enough smoke to suggest something hadn't gone as planned. No one accused sabotage. No one claimed conspiracy outright. But doubt crept in through the cracks, and doubt spreads faster than facts. Especially when confidence disappears overnight. Jake Paul's silence amplified everything. Normally, he fills space instantly. A tweet, a post, a clip, anything to reclaim control. This time, there was nothing. Silence in the influencer era is deafening. It creates room for other voices to narrate your story. And once the internet takes the pen, it never hands it back politely. It rewrites in permanent ink. Comment sections flipped tone within hours. The jokes sharpened. The praise evaporated. And the comparisons turned brutal. People stopped talking about boxing ability. They started talking about reality checks, about ceilings, about what happens when performance art meets professional consequence. Anthony Joshua didn't say much either. He didn't need to. The restraint itself became a flex. Silence looks powerful when you've already spoken with impact. Meanwhile, speculation around Joe Rogan's reaction intensified. Was he shocked, concerned, or simply witnessing a moment that couldn't be spun anymore? Fans replayed clips like analysts studying film. Every pause dissected, every inflection scrutinized. The reaction became its own headline, and that's when the scandal truly took shape. Not from the punch, but from the aftermath. From the realization that hype has limits. And sometimes those limits arrive violently. This wasn't just a loss. It felt like a fracture in a carefully engineered image. One that had survived criticism, mockery, and controversy before. But fractures don't care about brand strategy. By the end of the night, the tone had shifted permanently. The conversation was no longer playful. It was uneasy. And unease is where long stories are born. Because once people sense authenticity cracking through performance, they don't look away. They lean closer, and they wait for what breaks next, and that was only the beginning. By the next morning, the internet was a war zone. Memes were circulating faster than any official update could arrive. 1 minute, Jake Paul was a viral hero. The next, he was the poster child for what happens when hype meets reality. Celebrities weighed in ways that were subtle, loud, and brutally public. Some dropped likes that spoke louder than words. Some posted ambiguous quotes that were basically Shakespeare for the algorithm. And every single post fueled the frenzy like gasoline on a wildfire. The reaction videos exploded. Clips of Joe Rogan's pause were remixed, replayed, and dissected frame by frame. Every twitch, every inhale, every half smile was theorized into a narrative of doom. This made reality TV plot twists look like bedtime stories. Meanwhile, Jake Paul's social media silence became louder than any promo. Fans debated if he was injured, embarrassed, or just plotting a comeback. Conspiracy threads popped up claiming pre-fight sabotage, insider leaks, or just plain bad luck. The line between fact and fiction blurred like a Photoshop filter on steroids. Even mainstream media couldn't resist. Headlines ranged from Jake Paul hospitalized after shocking KO to Rogan reacts like no one expected. News outlets competed to see who could hype despair the fastest. And somewhere in the middle of all this, the story became bigger than the fight itself. Memes went nuclear. One compared Jake Paul's knockout to a plot twist in a Marvel movie. Another suggested he had been auditioning for a new reality series called Hospital Bed Challenges. Every post, every joke, every reaction was recycled, remixed. And amplified celebrity reactions added fuel to the fire. Some subtlety flexed like a cat pawing at an unattended goldfish. Others went full commentary mode, posting cryptic tweets that made fans obsessively decode their meaning. The message was clear. This moment was larger than one man. Larger than one fight. Meanwhile, analysts debated what this meant for Jake Paul's career. Could he bounce back, or was this the moment the internet finally turned? One podcast suggested the KO would be studied like a historic collapse. Another claimed that social media had already written the obituary for Paul's bravado. Pop culture comparisons dominated every feed. The fall of Jake Paul was likened to a celebrity scandal from the early 2000s. From reality stars losing sponsorships to pop icons taking missteps on live TV, nothing escaped the analogy machine. Even the Kardashians got dragged in, because of course they did. Memes and celebrity reactions didn't exist in isolation. Fans started layering them together, creating a chaotic feedback loop. Reaction videos inspired more memes, more tweets, more speculation. The hype cycle became self-sustaining, unstoppable, and absurdly entertaining. Unstoppable, and absurdly entertaining. Amid the chaos, Rogan's reaction remained a reference point. Analysts, fans, and random commentators treated his pause like a punctuation mark in history. People debated tone, timing, and intent as if dissecting the Gettysburg Address. Every subtle gesture was overanalyzed and recycled into commentary gold. And then came the viral twist. A clip surfaced of Jake Paul attempting a motivational post from the hospital bed. It didn't go as planned. The energy felt off, forced, and eerily rehearsed. Fans quickly turned it into a meme, comparing him to a character from a canceled sitcom. Social media algorithms, of course, loved it. Engagement skyrocketed. Hashtags multiplied. Speculation turned to theory, theory to conspiracy, and conspiracy to cult-like obsession. The story had taken a life of its own. Public outrage and fascination became interchangeable. Some fans expressed concern, others reveled in the chaos. Debates broke out over whether Jake Paul should fight again immediately. Others questioned the ethics of sharing hospital footage or reactions. And the internet refused to wait for clarity. Pop culture references kept the narrative spicy. Fans compared the scene to classic movie disasters, failed heists, and epic sitcom fallouts. One meme suggested the entire fight had been a precursor to a Netflix docuseries on influencer misadventures. Another claimed Rogan's reaction was equivalent to the moment. Tony Stark realized the suits couldn't save everyone. Meanwhile, commentary channels thrived. Every analysis, every reaction, every clip was monetized into hours of discussion. Even the smallest gestures from Jake, Paul, or Joshua were broken down as evidence of hidden motives. The line between sport and spectacle had vanished entirely. Celebrity interactions added layers of absurdity. Some posted ambiguous emojis. Some dropped quotes from philosophical texts. Every cryptic post was treated as proof of backstage intrigue. Fans speculated on hidden alliances, secret feuds, and unspoken grudges. Memes evolved into storytelling. They weren't just jokes anymore. They narrated the fall, the reactions, and the aftermath simultaneously. Fans shared them like serialized episodes, hungry for the next installment. Social media obsession didn't just affect fans. Athletes, commentators, and celebrities weighed in with their own takes. Some supportive, some skeptical, all amplified by the frenzy. Even unrelated influencers got dragged into threads for tangentially relevant comments. The narrative escalated with absurd analogies. Fans compared hospital protocols to emergency scenes in blockbuster films. One theory suggested Jake Paul's reaction would inspire a future video game character. Another claimed that memes would enter the cultural lexicon, like catchphrases from classic TV and Through It All. The focus remained on Rogan's measured response. His voice, his pause, his subtle expressions became benchmarks. Every other reaction was measured against that moment of unexpected gravity. The pause wasn't just a pause, it was a statement in itself. By this point, the story had outgrown the fight. It wasn't just about a KO, it was about perception, reputation, and digital spectacle. Everything had become commentary, reaction, or meme-worthy fodder. Even traditional media couldn't resist jumping in. Articles spun the hospital visit into human interest stories, dramatic recaps, and analytical pieces. Social media picked up the threads instantly, creating a loop of commentary feeding itself. Every clip, every word, every pause was repurposed, remixed, and amplified. Public opinion polarized. Fans argued about the severity of the KO, critics dissected the PR response. Everyone had a hot take, and no one was subtle. The story had become too big, too chaotic, and too entertaining to ignore. Through the chaos, one truth became undeniable. This wasn't a normal fight night. It was a spectacle that blurred the lines between reality, performance, and digital obsession. Jake Paul's hospital visit was just the spark. The fire was fueled by the reactions, the memes, and the celebrity commentary. And somewhere in the middle of the storm, the internet was waiting for the next twist. Because when scandals escalate this fast, the pause is just preparation. The audience is ready. The next act is inevitable. The aftermath hit harder than the punch itself. Jake Paul wasn't just trending. He was a case study in viral chaos. One night had rewritten the playbook on hype versus reality. And everyone online knew it. Reputations were on the line. Jake's bravado had always been his armor, his brand, his storyline. Now that armor had a crack, a glaring, internet-illuminated fracture. Fans debated if he would return as the same persona or reinvent entirely. Anthony Joshua, meanwhile, became untouchable in comparison, not just for skill, but for composure, restraint, and the ability to make silence speak louder than any tweet. Every replay emphasized that precision, that timing, that inevitability. Joshua's victory wasn't just physical, it was narrative domination. Memes continued to evolve, each iteration sharper than the last. One compared Jake to a comic book villain whose plan failed spectacularly. Another likened him to a reality TV star whose storyline jumped the shark. Even obscure TikTok dances were rebranded as metaphors for the KO. Joe Rogan remained the anchor in a sea of chaos. His reaction, paused and measured, became the standard by which all commentary was judged. Every influencer, every podcaster, every late-night host referenced it indirectly. Silence, it seemed, could be louder than any rant. The internet never rests. Speculation continued to spiral into absurdity. Fans imagined secret rematches, backstage betrayals, and private footage that didn't exist. The more impossible, the more viral Jake Paul's brand began morphing in real time. His previous energy, bold, unfiltered, meme-ready, was now under scrutiny. Every post, every clip, every gesture was analyzed for tone, intent, and authenticity. Even the smallest misstep could become headline news. Joshua's camp leveraged the moment subtly. They didn't need drama. The internet supplied it. Every interview was calm, measured, and almost boring in contrast to the viral storm. But calm sells just as much as chaos when the narrative is this compelling. Celebrity commentary didn't slow. Some applauded resilience. Some poked fun at overconfidence. Some used it to highlight larger issues in influencer boxing. Every angle was exploited, every reaction repurposed. Memes started dictating discourse. No one could scroll without seeing a punchline or a reference. The hospital bed, the pause, the KO replay all became shorthand for dramatic collapse. Pop culture had absorbed the story faster than news outlets could report. Public perception became a living, breathing beast. Jake Paul was no longer just a fighter. He was a meme, a case study, and a speculation about private conversations, training mistakes, and inside drama persisted. Fans and influencers fueled the fire, remixing clips and adding context in ways that only amplified interest. Every post kept the narrative alive. Public perception hardened into a lasting memory. Jake Paul's KO became a reference for overconfidence, social media hype, and sudden reversals. Joshua's victory became a lesson in execution, discipline, and letting actions speak louder than words. Rogan's reaction became a template for genuine concern in the digital age. By the end of the week, the world had absorbed the story from every angle. Memes, commentary, celebrity reactions, and public debate had transformed one fight into a full-blown cultural event. The narrative was no longer linear. It was multidimensional, viral, and unforgettable. And everyone knew the next twist was only a matter of time. The hospital footage, the KO clip, Rogan's reaction, they became permanent fixtures in pop culture. Fans would reference them for years, remix them endlessly, and use them as shorthand for chaos and consequence. The moment transcended the ring. It became a lesson, a spectacle, and a cautionary tale all at once. Even those who didn't follow boxing couldn't escape it. Tweets, memes, and commentary infiltrated feeds in every corner of the internet. The KO and the reaction weren't just sports moments anymore. They were cultural markers, signposts of the power and absurdity of modern attention. And through it all, one truth remained unshakable. Hype can only carry you so far. Reality always arrives. And when it hits, even the loudest, most confident voices have to pause. All right, let's cut through the noise for a second. You've seen the chaos, the hospital drama, the KO and Rogan's legendary pause. Now it's your turn to weigh in. Don't just scroll like a zombie. Hit that like button like it owes you money. Comment your hottest take below. Were you Team Jake Paul, Team Joshua, or just Team I can't believe this actually happened? We want every theory, every conspiracy, every I told you so typed in caps lock. No filter, no mercy, no holding back. The internet rewards honesty. And memes don't lie. Subscribe if you haven't already. Because scandals like this don't just stop at one KO, they multiply. They escalate. They get messier than a reality show reunion on steroids. Every day there's a new clip, a new reaction, a new twist that makes the Kardashians look like background noise. And trust us, if you blink, you'll miss the next level of chaos. We're here breaking it all down, turning every pause, every glare, every hospital trip into content that makes your notifications scream. This is where drama lives, and this is where you want to be. Smash that like, drop a comment, and hit subscribe so you're first in line for the next viral meltdown. Because if you thought Jake Paul versus Joshua was wild, just wait until the sequel drops. Scandals, chaos, and jaw-dropping reactions, it's all coming. And you don't want to be late. Remember the name, remember the chaos. Punch Press delivers the stories everyone's talking about before anyone else even gets a clue. Click, react, and strap in. The internet just got a lot louder, and you're not missing a second.